Hello. So what song did you just play?
I just played the Battle of Waterloo, traditional pipe march.
And it's kind of funny because my dad and I obviously never speak English to each other. So this is the first time I'm sitting down speaking to him in English.
And doing it in front of other people as well, which is quite strange.
Yeah, you have never live streamed, I suppose.
I don't think I have, not intentionally anyway. I've probably been part of one or two live streamed church services or so, but nothing else.
Okay, so if you have missed it, you can go and check it out in my channel. But I've made a small documentary about my dad and about your love for Scotland and Ireland, Scottish and Irish music and culture and language and history. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's also why we have this live stream to share a little bit more. And if you want to ask any questions, you can do that in the comment section. I have them on the screen here. And I have already written some of your questions up, so we will start with them. But if you have any questions, just ask, and we will talk a little bit and then about my dad's music, and then we'll play a little bit of music, and then we'll answer questions after that as well. So that's the plan. So I'm just going to start asking questions. What is it that draws you so much into Scottish and Irish history, music, and culture?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I don't really know, but I've been fascinated by the British Isles and their history since I was a teenager, I think, and started going regularly to the UK in the mid-70s, which is quite a while back.
Yeah.
Before most of the people watching were born, I assume. And I've been doing it ever since. And I've always had sort of a special feeling for both Scotland and Ireland, because they were somehow the less powerful of the countries of the UK. And there's something within me that sort of resonates with the less powerful ones in society and in politics and similar things.
And I think we talked about this before, but I think before you said that you could kind of sense that in the music as well. Like
yes,
Scottish music and Irish
yes.
music.
You can sense that in the traditional music or the folk music. There is a kind of a feeling of either sometimes just a feling of sadness, and sometimes a feeling of pride, and sometimes a feeling of rebellion, and all that put together in the music, which is usually less evident in, for instance, English folk music or folk song. Usually, not always, but usually.
Does you have a good English accent?
Okay.
Not Scottish though, but you can speak a Scottish accent.
I reckon I could do that too, actually. I think so.
So yeah, he is quite good with languages in general. You have studied English at university level.
I have, yes, yes.
And travelled in both England and Scotland.
Oh yes,
and Ireland.
yes.
And the US as well.
Yes, I've been to the US as well, yeah.
So
with my son Björn. some years ago. And,
Oh my God, he
also-
does it well. Jackie Moffat, he's from Scotland, so he said you do it well. Your accent.
Well, I listen to obviously a lot of Scottish programs and YouTube clips, and I've been going regularly to Scotland for a number of years. So it's just that I'm sort of used to speaking this kind of English, but I think I could probably do it just as well, and if I tried to do more of a Scottish accent.
But maybe I'm just kind of like in Swedish, like you could put on maybe Northern Sweden accent, but it wouldn't feel like you.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
but I
northern.
think, yeah. but it's also, the thing is also that I don't in Swedish actually use the same accent with my blood relatives as I do with the rest of the world.
So he speaks in like the southern Swedish accents, skånska, with everyone but the family.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny.
And yes, the reason for that is that I was born in Stockholm, and my mother and father spoke that kind of Swedish, and my sister and I spoke that kind of Swedish until we were, I don't know, 10, 12, 13 maybe years old, and at which time we'd moved down south. But we never stopped speaking this kind of Swedish with each other and within the family and with relatives. So I've never. So somehow that's sort of my inner self is sort of Stockholmian, and so I actually speak that way with my children as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. And my Patreon, Andrea, she's asking how many languages you speak.
Well, I don't speak any more than Swedish and English. I've studied French, but I certainly can't say I speak French. And I speak more German than French, but I haven't studied German.
Yeah.
But I understand probably more German, and could probably make myself understood in German just as easily as in French.
And you can read a little bit in Hebrew as well.
Well, yeah.
He taught me actually as a child. Yeah. He taught me to write my name in Hebrew, although I forgot.
Yeah. I could still do that. Yes. I have studied Hebrew as well. Yes. The biblical Hebrew, not modern day Hebrew.
So, and here's another question: what is your favorite music group in Sweden?
My favorite music group in Sweden. Well. One of my favorites, it's hard to just name one, but one of my favorite groups is a group called West of Eden.
Yeah.
And they play
not
sort
very
of
typical Swedish music.
No, not very typical Swedish music, but the last tour they actually did with Swedish music. Otherwise, they write their own music, and it's sort of Celtic style music, but it's their own music, so it's written in Sweden, and I like them a lot, and I also know them, and we regularly have them here in this very space for concerts as well.
Yeah.
I used to have I think, is it Väsen or something, one group. I used to have one of the members as a flute teacher some years ago as well. But I do like Swedish folk music. I do. But I don't really play it. No,
but I started, and I wasn't really interested in Swedish folk music before, but I think after I moved to China, I got an interest in Swedish culture again, and after that, I now listen quite a lot too. And lately, I've been listening a lot to Åkervinda.
Okay.
They sing in Swedish, and they sing in different harmony. So it's very, very beautiful Swedish music. I can write it up later. Then, so back to your music story, because someone's wondering, because after you studied music in high school and you studied music at university, but then you stopped and you lost not all interest in music. You still played I remember you played a lot of electric guitar when we were kids, but
yes,
you didn't
before
play as
before
much.
that, in the early and mid and late 80s and very early 90s, I didn't really play a lot. I played a little, and I played guitar in some church services and things, but I think I got tired of music at that point because I'd studied it for 5 years full time. And that was a bit too much for me at that time. It wouldn't have been today, but my interest wasn't quite as deep then as it is now. So now I'd love to study music full time.
But would you like to study it the same way though? Like, are you still as interested in musical theory? Because I feel like from interviewing you for the documentary, it was more. I felt like you went from studying it more of a kind of academic music to more just expressing yourself and your feelings.
Yeah, I don't really think I have all the musical theory that I need.
Yeah,
that's I definitely do that, and I've had a lot of use of the music theory I have studied. That's been very, very helpful when writing music and writing songs and putting chords to songs, etc., or writing melodies, etc. Very much so.
And were you raised in a musical family?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. My mother played a little bit of piano, and my sister also played a little bit of piano and a little bit of guitar, but not much. Though my parents listened to a lot of music, and most of my friends and schoolmates' parents listened to what's in Swedish known as Svensktoppen and Dansband, which is very easy listening, I would say. And my parents were slightly younger, so they actually listened to another type of music or other types of music. My mother listened to British folk rock like Fairport Convention, Steel Eye Span, Pentangle, etc. And my father listened to Bob Dylan, and I listened to the Rolling Stones. He listened to a lot of blues, old blues, and I listened to opera, and he listened to a lot of jazz as well. And Jimi Hendrix. My mother introduced Led Zeppelin to the family.
Yeah.
And she's now 86. So.
And both your parents were still artists.
I
think that
painters,
that might still,
both of them. Yeah.
So that makes
and my mother's still alive, but my father is not. And my father also taught painting at Gothenburg Gothenburg Art College called Varland.
Yeah. They're asking you. You're asking. Where my husband is. He's here.
Hello.
The kids are outside. My dad has a really nice garden here, so they're outside playing. And they may come in later. Who knows? And then let's say, because a few people have been asking about my dad's music. Do you have the records somewhere?
Yeah, somewhere. I'll go and get.
My dad have his own records, and if you want to, I'll write his email address. john.follin@hotmail.com. I think this is his email address. If you want to buy any of his record, you can just send him an email, but you will have to pay for shipping though if you're not in Sweden.
And this one is just my own music, recorded in Scotland in Ardgour in a studio called Watercolor Studios. And for those of you who might be familiar with Scottish traditional music, I have one of the greatest music profiles in Scotland playing harp on it, and her name is Miriam Kennedy, a great musician and a lovely person, and her husband runs the studio.
And I can say on the documentary, I used tracks from this one only.
And on my Spotify, this is the only CD I have tracks from, or all the tracks, I think. And this one is more like a pub CD with traditional songs and some instrumentals, including Amazing Grace on bagpipes. Otherwise, songs like Loch Lomond, Bonnie Ship, The Diamond, The Star of the County Down, Six Ribbons, etc.
And this is your email, I think.
Yes.
Yep. Good. So if you are interested in this, you can send my dad an email. And someone asked if they because there have been quite a few people asking if you can play Amazing Grace. Do you think after the live stream, like towards the very end, you could pick up the bagpipes again? So we can have bagpipes again towards the end.
But I will have to go and check the tuning perhaps.
Yeah.
But
I can
certainly do
talk
that
to you during that time. And this one. How many instruments do you play? Many people have been asking. Do you even know yourself? And what counts as an instrument?
That the question is, what do you mean by different instruments? I started actually when I was a child. I started playing the recorder because that's what you had to start on, and then I started playing the violin after that, and then I started playing guitar because that was a lot cooler than playing the violin. So acoustic guitar and electric guitar, and then I started studying classical nylon string guitar as well. Then a few years later, I started playing the bagpipes in the late 70s, and did that for a couple of years, and then I took a long break of about 25 years, and I have since 2007. I talked about that in the documentary. I started playing bagpipes again, and started playing Scottish and Irish music. And so after that, I started playing several other instruments. I think the first one was probably banjo, and then I took up the low whistle, this kind of instrument, and the proper tin whistle as well, the smaller one. And then I also started playing a bit of bouzouki and mandolin, and later on Irish flute and accordion. And I've also started learning the fiddle once again. But most of them, I would say, is after turning 50. So I would definitely encourage people to start learning instruments, even if they're not young. And I'll just mention one very encouraging example. And a man I met briefly, who we got talking music, and he had been playing harmonica for quite a few years, and he was far from young now, but he was very healthy and very vigorous, and he told me he'd just started learning the melodeon, which is the same principle as a harmonica. It's one note when you blow and one note when you suck or pull, or whatever you want to call it. And so the principle was slightly similar. And he just started learning that. And I asked his age, and he was 96.
Yeah, I think that's very encouraging.
Yeah, very, very.
So, because I think a lot of people, like, I can feel now that I would love to learn to play the violin, for example, especially Swedish folk music, but then I barely have time to take a shower with the kids around. So like it's very difficult when you are if you have kids, when they're young, it's hard to learn anything. But then I don't really mind now, because then I can just think I can take it up when I'm 50. It's fine. I think it's kind of encouraging and kind of relaxing thought. Makes me feel less stressed. Someone asked, is Andrea again here? She left, but we can answer the question anyways. How long it takes to play the pipes? Because that's a good question. I guess that depends on.
I'll just show something.
When it, like how much music you played before, I would guess depends, and how much you practice.
When you start learning the bagpipes, you shouldn't go out and buy a set of bagpipes. You should buy a practice chanter, which is this. And you play it the same way as the chanter of the bagpipes, which is the chanter being the melody pipe. So you play it the same way as you play the regular pipes, but you learn on this one. You learn the fingering and you learn the melodies, and you practice and you learn the grace notes, which are all the little extra notes you play to embellish the melody. And normally you play this for about a year, or perhaps slightly less, depending on how much you practice and how easy it is for you. And then after that, you start on the bagpipes, and you start probably with just one drone and no chanter, and just learning to blow into the bag and keeping a somewhat even pressure. And then you add maybe another drone, and then you cork the drones, and then you add a melody pipe and start playing on that one. And then only after this, and we're talking weeks or months, you add it all together, and then you play the chant and the drones together. But it certainly takes some time. So you normally would take you, before you can sort of play at least a few tunes without it sounding too bad, it probably takes a year to a year and a half, I would say. But again, it depends on how much time and effort you put into it and how easy it is for you.
And this one, I'm also curious, what's the hardest instrument for you to learn?
I don't really know. I've put quite a lot of effort into all the instruments I play, but I can say there are some instruments I never thought I would be able to play, and whistle and flute are definitely two of them. So I never thought I would, because it seemed too hard. And I also remember when your sister went to the music school just to try out instruments before starting to learn an instrument, and she tried a flute, and she immediately got quite a good tone out of it when blowing into the mouthpiece. And I was also invited to try and blow and get a tone, and I got no tone at all. Just a hiss, nothing else.
That's funny. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
so I certainly didn't think I would be able to play flute either, but I was.
So here you are.
Yeah.
Oh, Bjarne.
Oh no.
Hey, Bjarne. Oh, you started playing the accordion not that long ago.
Yeah, I went into a thrift shop or secondhand shop selling various things, and I saw an accordion, and it looked great, and it was inexpensive, and I could check the tuning, so I could tell it was in tune. And then I bought it, and then I thought I have to learn to play this, and it was hard to begin with. And the guy asking the question, Bjarne, is actually the one who I think who gave me the basics of how to finger the bass notes, because that was the biggest problem for me playing accordion, knowing which fingers to use for the bass note and for the minor or major chord.
And Bjarne is my mom's husband, my mom's boyfriend, in case anybody wonders. So that's why we know who he is. And you've seen him in quite a few of my videos as well.
And he, when I studied at music college, he was also a student at music college.
Oh yeah, the same in Malmö.
As was Miriam's mum. Yeah. So we were all there at about the same time in the late 70s, early 80s.
Long time ago.
Long time
We're
ago.
also old.
Yes, we're all old. Still playing though.
Yeah. All of you.
I think so.
play a lot,
Even
yeah. I mean,
Rihanna too.
the three of you play a lot. So.
Not very often together though, but that does happen.
Yeah,
does happen.
And I have a few ideas that we could do together. I think it would be cool to do some Chinese music. So any advice? I think this will be the Yo-Hong is not going to be in the chat because it's too much now to translate. But someone asked about that. But Johan and I can do a live stream in Chinese on his channel later on. Not today. We will let you know when that happens. But for now, it would just be too much to translate, I think. But do you have any advice for the people who learn music in their spare time? And this will be the last question before we play.
Well, my advice is don't give up. Give it some time and put some effort into it, because the more you put into it, the more you will get out of it, certainly. And I would say that I know quite a few people who have started on various instruments, but you do need to put time into it in order to make a progress. Most people, anyway. I know people who can just pick up any instrument and it sounds good immediately, but they're quite few, and I'm certainly not one of them. But I have been to one of my classmates at music college was one of them. But put some effort into it, and make sure you have an okay instrument. Make sure you have an okay instrument, whatever instrument it is. If you're taking up the fiddle, for instance, or violin, don't buy the cheapest fiddle you can buy for £100 or $100 new. Buy one which is at least has some sound to it, with a nice tone, because the nicer it sounds, the more you will play it.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah,
good advice, actually. So someone, I think this was okay. One more, because I think this is a good one. If you ever try to teach us music, and I think actually never. Like I know we played like when we were kids as well. We would sing, and you would record us playing and singing, but I don't think you ever tried to teach us. I think that was someone else.
Yeah, I think that's generally a good principle, to not teach your own children.
Or your spouse.
Or your spouse, yeah.
It's the same, like, I think with Yo-Hong and me in languages. Like, I'm not teaching him Swedish because it's not a teacher-student relationship, so it doesn't really work very well.
Exactly. And also, getting a good teacher is... I haven't had a teacher on all the instruments I play, but for instance, I play some Irish flute, and I do have at the moment a very good flute teacher. He's also a very good musician. His name is Brendan Mulholland. He's a very well-known Irish flute player, but the lessons we've had have helped me immensely. So if you have a good teacher, that's very important. And if you want to learn to play the bagpipes, you will need a teacher as well, because you won't be able to learn that adequately on your own, I'm afraid. But you can find teachers online, and also some YouTube channels, and perhaps a teacher in your own area if you want to start doing that.
So now we have prepared a few songs. I am going to play the guitar on some of them, and I have not played for a long time, although I have practiced for this, but just bear that in mind. I'm not a musician, so.
But you did study music once upon a time.
I did study music, yeah. I did.
And you played the bass as well.
Yeah, I played the cello.
Yeah, you did.
From the age of 7 until I was 13, and then I stopped, and then I started playing the bass, and I played the guitar a little bit, because I went to a music high school as well. But then after that, I don't think I played ever until now. So, vill du kolla?
Ska vi ta den?
Stämmer det bra?
Ja, så jag kan inte.
Men den här stämmer bra.
Tror jag. Ja, visst. Ska vi köra den 2 gånger eller en gång bara?
Skulle man köra den här först långsamt, sen snabbt?
Ja, ska vi göra det eller?
Ja, det kan
Hinner
vi
det,
göra.
eller?
Ja, oh,
Ja.
thank you. Someone sent us a super sticker. $10.
Jaha, okej.
I'll split it with you later. Thank you.
Är du med då?
Mm.
This one is one of my own, and I've called it The Forgotten Reel for the simple reason I'd forgotten I'd written it.
Yeah, and this one I heard it first time today, I think.
Yeah.
Talk about this song. Introduce this song.
Kommer Sansan. Hej
Du
Sansan.
kan komma om du vill. Behöver du något?
Jag lägger G kvar.
Oh,
En gång till.
another. Thank you.
En annan till.
Stickers.
So the next one is actually an old Irish song called the Made of Culmore, and has been covered eminently by the Bothy Band.
Everybody keep sending super stickers. Thank you so much. Purple Dreams is awesome, and it reminds me so much of a picture of Patricia. I'm not sure it is.
Ska ta den då, eller?
Yeah. And this is another one of my dad's songs. I'm pretty sure I put it on in the documentary. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's on the CD. And the Hitler Call CD. Ska vi ta en gång bara, eller 2 gånger, eller vad? Ska vi köra den olika tempo, eller hoppar det?
Vi tar den en gång. Nej, denna tar vi ett tempo.
Ja, en gång rätt igen, eller?
Ja.
Just det. 1 och 2. Eller vänta, förlåt, det är 1, 2, nej, 1.
Kan du bara sjunga det? Jag kommer inte ihåg sjunga. Just det.
Ja. Vi tar lite långsamt. Ja. And I call that one the OBriens Whistle.
So many super stickers. Thank you.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you.
Ska du säga hej sen? Vill du det? Du tar sig.
Vi hittar nästa låt.
Du kan lägga en liten.
Men vad hade du Hade du den på datorn?
Ja, det hade jag på datorn.
Okay. Ja.
So I'm just gonna... Thank you. I'm just gonna say thank you to everyone. I hope I didn't miss anyone now.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now we have one more of my dad's songs.
Yeah.
So
and
we're not going to see the screen. Now we're seeing the
and
song.
it's called the Hunting Game, which is sort of a pun because it could mean hunting game, as in hares and roe and deer, but it could also mean hunting game. And on the CD, you can actually hear the whistle sounds a bit like hounds in the background, hunting and crying out. But we see if we can make that happen.
It's kind of funny. It reminds me, the song is very up-tempo, and it really reminds me of a game, a hunting game. So you kind of see the whole, not very Scottish, but the British kind of fox hunters and their beagles running around in the fields and their horses. And kind of funny. Kan du sjunga lite hur den går igen? Ja, just det. big fan of my dad's music.
Då ska jag titta här.
So yeah.
Om vi ska
Oh
ha-
yeah.
om vi ska ha en sån-
No. Singing.
So now we're going to sing.
And explain this song.
This song is a very popular song in the pubs in Scotland and Ireland, at least, probably in England as well. And it's called I'll Tell Me Ma, and it's actually kind of a children's song or rhyme or so from the beginning, but it's very popular. And well, the contents are sort of evident. Once you listen to it. Yeah, quite weird.
Quite an odd song.
It's about who loves who, and etc.
Can we school it?
Yeah.
Childish song.
Tell me now when I go home, the boys won't leave the girls alone. They pulled my hair, they stole my comb, but that's alright till I go home. She is handsome, she is pretty, she's the belle of Belfast City. She is a courting 1, 2, 3. Please won't you tell me who is she? Albert Mooney says he loves her, and all the boys are fighting for her. Knock on the door and ring the bell, saying, "Oh, my true love, are you well?" Out she comes as white as snow, rings on her fingers and bells on her toes. Old Jenny Morrison says she'll die if she doesn't get well with the roving eye. Tell me now when I go home, the boys won't leave the girls alone. They pulled my hair, they stole my comb, but that's alright till I go home. She is handsome, she is pretty, she's the belle of Belfast City. She's a courting 1, 2, 3. Please won't you tell me who is she? Let the wind and the rain and the hail go high, and snow come tumbling through the sky. She's as nice as apple pie, and she'll get her own lad by and by. When she gets a lad of her own, she won't tell her ma when she comes home. So let them all come as they will, for it's Albert Moon and she loves still. I tell me ma when I go home, the boys won't leave the girls alone. They pulled my hair, they stole my comb, but that's alright till I go home. She's handsome, she is pretty, she's the belle of Belfast City. She's a courting 1, 2, 3. Please would you tell me who is she?
So that's a song. Do you have anything on banjo you would like to play?
I don't know if we have time for that.
For 45 minutes now.
Yeah.
So next time
maybe next time. Maybe more. If so, maybe more questions and eventually pipes again. But
yeah. With the pipes again. So let's do. Should we do for another 50 minutes max?
Yeah.
So we're gonna do some questions and then it's bagpipes.
If there are any more questions.
I had a few. This one. What was Miriam like as a kid?
Yeah.
So actually, let's just add take this the one of the very first questions we got, because I think that was a really sweet question. One of your favorite childhood memories of your dad, and one of your favorite your dad's favorite memories of your childhood. So let's just do that one.
Yeah, I would like to start by saying that what was Miriam like as a kid? She was strong-willed, I would like to say.
I have never actually asked that myself. So that's
and quite stubborn. Nice and happy and friendly, but yes.
Grumpy also.
Yeah, grumpy
like
too.
All our family pictures, I was excited.
Yes.
I had a very deep health.
I wouldn't call her grumpy nowadays, though. No. So you sort of grew out of that. But I think being a little sister is. I'm a little brother myself, so I think that it does something to you because you have someone you look up to and you are competing with. And when Lydia, her big sister, played piano, for instance, and had piano lessons, every time Miriam learned Lydia's piano lesson as well every week. So
had to do the same
but she had to perform just as well as her sister. So that's one thing I remember. Well, favorite memories, loads of memories, but I think one thing which I think of is not really a happy memory, but a good one in a sense, because that was when Miriam decided to move for a while to Glasgow and stay there, and didn't really know anyone there, and it's quite a big city. So after a couple of days, she phoned back, and I was. Although she was unhappy, I was happy that she chose to call me. In that case, rather than her mum, we were still living together as a family. But she phoned me, and I did appreciate that a lot, because that meant she in that kind of need, she felt it okay to turn to me, and I appreciated that.
Could.
Yeah.
And because when I saw this question, I immediately thought of hey, ska du sitta hos mig?
Kanske ute.
Pappa. Så. Den står på golvet, Hansa. Står där vid.
Ja.
But yeah, one of the first thing that popped into my head was Harry Potter, because I was a huge Harry Potter fan. And although my dad did not, my mom actually gave me the first Harry Potter book, and my dad did not approve of it. But since I had been gifted it from my mom, like he couldn't take it away. It was my birthday. I think I turned 11 or something. And I read it and I loved it. And then my dad read it as well, because he had to see like what it was like. And you loved it too. And then after that, we always read the books and always talked about the books together. And he took me to all the premieres, like the movie premieres, at least when I was like a child. I remember actually on our family trip to Scotland, they had just released I think Goblet of Fire. So we were reading.
Yeah.
We were reading the Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, we were on the plane over.
And I read it in English as well.
And also when we went to London, you and Lydia and I, we did go to this platform.
Yes, we did. We did go to platform 9 3/4, and I also remember driving around in London, always hoping that I would like spot Emma Watson or Daniel Radcliffe on the street. I was always looking out from the cab window, like seeing, oh, maybe they're walking around here, but I obviously didn't. Although I did get to hold Jimi Hendrix guitar.
You did get to hold Jimi Hendrix guitar in the vault of the Hard Rock Cafe in London, which you certainly can't do nowadays. But yeah, it wouldn't happen now. No, that was really cool.
That was really, really cool. Diane Day, thank you. Also a patron of mine. Hi, thank you. But yeah, that's really. I think that's really, because it's like many memories together that we share. Letar efter frågor.
Ja, bara titta lite.
There was one.
There was one. How can you guys understand English in Glasgow? Well, most of it, I think, unless they have too broad an accent.
Oh, the English, the Glasgow accent, I think is fine.
Yeah, I think you get used to it.
Yeah, you kind of get used to it. I really like it. I prefer, like, nothing against other accents, but I really like Scottish accents. And then maybe the Glasgow accent is not the prettiest of the Scottish accents, but I like it.
No, but yeah, it has its charm.
And
certainly.
the city, I think Glasgow kind of reminds me of Malmö in Sweden, because it's both kind of the workers' city, a workers' town.
It's also a very cultural town.
Yeah. So is Malmö. So
yeah.
So I think
but the art school got destroyed for a second time. The art school.
It got destroyed?
Yes, in a fire for the second time.
Really? When?
Yeah, a few years back, and earlier as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew about it once. Yeah, that's very sad.
But
Thank you. Yeah.
There's also a music festival in the beginning of the year called Celtic Connections, which I've been to once, which was really, really good. It's in Glasgow, I really recommend that one. It's world music and Celtic music, so really, really good.
Someone asked, how does...
what's
that?
How did you end up in Sweden? We are both born and raised in Sweden.
Yeah.
I think you have a really good accent, so maybe some people think you're
Yeah.
Swedish.
I've actually been asked whether I was a Scottish person trying not to sound Scottish.
Really?
I think, by two people actually, which is quite
That's
interesting.
funny, yeah.
Quite interesting actually. Someone asked me about how does your music or your religion affect your music or your work, etc. I work. My main job is working. I work. In the Church of Sweden as a sort of a social worker or counselor and also youth leader and part-time musician in the church as well. And I also play, I have my own little music company and it's really pouring down outside now. So I play especially bagpipes at... Nej, den kunde. Funerals, weddings, parties, pubs, etc. Both with a duo or trio or on my own. But when it comes to religion and music, I use a lot of music in my work. And for me, especially Celtic music and spirituality or religion or church, whatever you want, how we want to describe it, is sort of deeply connected. For me, the Celtic music is spiritual. It conveys spirituality. And we have Eucharist services in the church where I work, where I lead music, and we play Celtic music. We call them Celtic Eucharists. And we play Celtic music, and it fits very, very well into the church service, and it sort of creates this atmosphere of openness and receptiveness, I would say, which is really, really good.
Yeah. I think in like if I can comment on your like religion and impact on your music and things, wouldn't you say also that the music kind of impacts? Because this is from a child's perspective, so I don't know, but I kind of felt that you went from being very religious when I was a child to being kind of non-religious almost.
For a short while, yes,
and then
definitely.
Being more kind of spiritual. So I feel like I can't tell which one like created the other, but I feel like your music and your kind of spirit, like emotional interest in music. I talked before your music was kind of academic, but then when you kind of started a more kind of emotional musical journey, I felt like you also like started a different kind of spiritual journey. Like from my perspective, that's what it kind
I think that's
like.
Probably an accurate description. Yeah.
So, thank you. Okay, so
someone is asking, are you also interested in Chinese music? Yes, but I don't know much of it, and I certainly can't play any. But I am interested in folk music from many parts of the world.
I think folk music is usually very emotional and kind of spiritual. It tells kind of the story of the people. I also lately find that much more interesting than kind of popular music.
So I was very taken once, which is it's not Chinese, but when I first heard Didgeridoo live by an Aborigine playing it, it was like I don't know what, the sound of a big waterfall or something, and it was really overwhelming and fantastic. And I've heard overtone singing, Mongolian overtone singing, which is fantastic and really, really wonderful. And lots of, and I enjoy music from the Sami and Native Americans and others, and the flute playing from there as well, because music it conveys something that words can't always convey. Music is sort of direct. It sort of hits you But then again, I also like rock music and blues. So if I hear a good blues rock tune, but it sort of hits me more in the stomach than in the heart.
That's funny. Do you barn dance? You do a little bit, don't you?
I have done a little bit of ceilidh dancing. That's one thing. When I was young and studied music, we had some lessons where we had to learn different dances and the steps to them and the movements. And I wasn't the last one to learn, but I was always the last person who didn't learn the steps. And who couldn't learn the steps. I never got around to doing that, which wasn't a very nice feeling. But later on, I learned, after going to Scotland a few times, I realized I was able to learn some of the ceilidh dances and steps, and I even enough to in some cases instruct in them as well. Which was
Nice.
sort of a nice, not revenge, but nice,
Sort of
nice to realize I actually could learn some of that too. But
Yeah.
I think
It's like the flute.
I think my learning a lot of instruments and playing a lot of music probably helped.
Yeah. Here's another question. Who does Miriam take after, mother or father? And I think a lot of people, I think I look like my mother, and then I think
Very much.
my personality is kind of both. But I think
Yeah.
I do see kind of I don't know, a tendency to almost I don't know, not obsessive behavior, but
yes. Why
yeah.
not call it obsessive behavior?
That
I think we
is
have a
from my-
tendency to be slightly obsessive with
Yeah.
things, both of us,
Yes.
which your mother is not.
Yeah.
And also being immersing oneself in a culture which you're not actually born into, but finding it very rewarding and loving it and soaking it up and living it out or playing it or whatever is also a thing we have in common, obviously.
Yeah, and I guess kind of because yeah, I think we both kind of you said before when I was a child I was quite stubborn. I think we're still both quite stubborn. Even like if we end up being in a discussion or anything, we can also be quite stubborn. I've never like had a very heated discussion with my mom, for example, but I have had quite a few heated discussions with my dad. No, I mistakenly clicked this one. Let's see. Oh, there's a lovely collaboration. I want to remember this. I'm just gonna take a screenshot here. This one.
Oh,
I think this sounds very interesting.
Yeah. We'll check that out.
Thank you. And then maybe a few more questions. This one, I know someone asked before as well, like what it's like to have a daughter, like how it was like what you thought about me moving to China and learning Chinese and marrying a Chinese man.
I think my aim has always been to be to let my children decide where they want to live and what they want to do, and not try and push them into doing something or studying something or telling them they have to finish this course or that course or whatever. So I think I've been encouraging in taking these kind of steps, even when it comes to studying abroad. But of course, I wasn't happy having her so far away in that sense. But then again, we have internet and we have Messenger and Skype, etc., and WeChat, and without that, it would have been quite hard, I think, for all of us.
And I don't know if I would have done it. Maybe I would, but I think that's it makes things a lot easier.
It certainly does. Yeah.
Also, I think moving to China and being so far away, I think I actually got to appreciate my family, all of you,
Mhm.
more.
And Sweden.
Because
Yeah.
in Sweden.
And let me
actually.
just say that I've seen lots of film clips and photos, etc., from China where you've been and where you live when you live there and stay there, and looks very nice, and I'd love to visit, and I'd love to travel in China and see the country as well. I'm a big fan of mountains, and there are some fantastic mountains in China. And also, Yong Hong is a very nice person and seems very good for Miriam. Very nice person. The only problem is I can't speak directly to him, which is which is sort of a shame, because I would have loved to be able to do that more, but it has to go via Miriam normally. I can say some things and he understands, but nothing very advanced or deep.
But now we hope that Johan will learn Swedish. Like our future, someone is asking to if we go back to China. We are trying. It's very difficult now, so I will keep you updated when we know for sure. But regardless if we're going back to China or not, Johan is learning Swedish, but it's not his number one priority. But he's learning slowly. So hopefully in a few years you can you can talk to each other for the first time. So and let take one. Den tycker du?
Vilken?
One
Nej, den är väl
question.
bra. Den any advice? Just det.
Yeah. This is the last question then. Any advice to people who are afraid of following their passions and their dreams?
I grew up with parents who were painters, artist painters, and none of their parents wanted them to be. And my mother was an academic, and my father sort of semi-academic, but both had a passion for painting and for expressing themselves that way, and they eked out a livelihood. They managed to do that, and they made ends meet more or less, at least most of the time. There certainly wasn't a lot of money, but we got by, and they did what they wanted to do, and I think that was a very good role model, at least in that respect. That it's a good thing to be able to follow your passion and to do what you really long to do, and do try and make it happen. Sometimes you have to take it in steps. If I go back 15 years, I had very few gigs, music gigs. If I go back 10 years, I had a lot more. Now I have a post-COVID. I have, and before COVID, I have lots of gigs again. And if anyone had told me that 25 years ago, I don't think I'd believed them, and certainly not if they told me which instruments I would be playing and using, and in which context as well.
And I think you're quite a good example of, because you started this kind of passion for music came after you had children, and you managed to have your family and a job, and also like take up something on the side. So you couldn't like, even if you can't put your 100% of your time into something, like a little bit over a long period of time is a lot. I think that's important as well.
Yeah. So if you want to learn an instrument, for instance, most people can at least squeeze in 15 to 20 minutes daily. If you don't think you can, then try switching off your phone or your TV or whatever for 15 to 20 minutes, and then you have 15 to 20 minutes. For most people, that's possible, but I realize it may not be that for everyone. But if you just put a little effort into something you want to do, then great things can happen.
Yeah.
and you can
And I
see
think
progress.
for people who do not feel like they have the time, if they have like a lot of other responsibilities or do not have an instrument and do not have the possibility of getting one right now, I think just try working towards like if you want to buy your first violin, you don't have a violin, then work 15 minutes a day on getting your violin, like study about like what violin you want to have and see how much it costs and kind of work towards that a little bit at a time. Work towards a day where you do have time. So I will post my dad's email again. Just making some advertisement, unpaid advertisement for the sake of YouTube. So you know I'm not getting paid by my dad. But if you want to like get in contact with him in general, or if you want to purchase any of his CDs, you can contact him. So don't write to me in the comments. I'm trying to be better at answering comments, but I'm still terrible at it.
And you can also listen to the tracks from this one on my Spotify.
Yeah.
You can just do search for either Heed the Call or
John
my
Follin.
name.
Yeah. So that's it.
Är det dags för
the bagpipes, yes.
Yeah.
So my dad will go and prepare the bagpipe.
Yeah.
And when he's done, he will play it. And until then, I can see if there's any questions for me. Let's go through the comments.
Man får säga till om andra bra.
Passa sakwe. Pusha tappet. Sen nu kommer morfar spela säckpipa så blir det jättehögt. Man har det för öronen. Telling the kids to
gå in i verkstaden eller något sånt.
Du kan gå in i det lilla rummet här. Men kan ju ligga på soffan så linjen.
Ja, längst. Ja, antingen där eller andra. Ska du gå med?
Ska du gå in dit sen? So here comes so that's thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening and
asking questions.
And donating money
so
to Miriam.
Money. You can have some if you want to. Although it's not an advertisement. I'm not paying you for advertising.
You're not?
Sorry. That's it.
Okay.
If you have any questions, write about my dad. Write to my dad. If you have questions for me, write to me.
Yeah.
So we'll see you another time. Maybe we should do this again.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? But bye everyone.
Yeah, okay. Bye.